So total cost, are you ready for this? I can't even believe we spent this much money. Was I just had a thought. I've been asked a lot, really, about the business of sheep farming for years. Since I've started vlogging, people want to know really the economics behind it. I can't think of a good way to talk about money and figures when I'm not strong financially on that stuff. I have to do chores and I have to get some stuff knocked off the list. But I think what I'll do is I'll run into the office and go through all kind of the bills that accumulated when we built this barn. I think I'm going to start there. I'm going to share with you guys how much it cost to build this sheep barn in 2013. Guys, I'm sharing this kind of reluctantly because I don't want to get shamed for how much we spend. Sometimes other farmers tend to not like other farmers spending a lot of money when you could do it with less. If you've looked at other videos that I've done, my reasoning behind sometimes spending a little bit more on something, at the end of the day, you should like where you work. If you like where you work and you can't wait to get out here every morning, you're gonna do a really good job. Your rate of return is gonna be quicker because you're gonna be out here, you're gonna be noticing stuff, and you're gonna enjoy your job. You're not gonna hire as many people because you wanna do the work. Oh, dog. Good morning. How are you? Hey. Hi. Just going into the shop to see if my feed cart works. We got the cord fixed. We dropped the oil and put new oil in. Cleaned out the filter. It's fueled up. We lubed and greased everything. I think you saw that yesterday. And I refilled the oil in there. So let's see if this thing works. I love my husband. I love my keeper. Talk and walk a bit here. I'll give you a little lowdown on the barn. This barn was built in 2013. I wanted to increase my flock from 150 ewes to 500. So this barn is built to fit 500 ewes. I don't like 500 ewes in here. I barely like 460 ewes in here because alongside with 460 ewes, I have 30 rams. I have 260 lambs in here. So it gets full fast. So if you're building a barn for like 500, make it 550. Whatever you do, add room, because if you're like any other sheep farmer, you'll find ways to fill it. The blue gates we bought, the 12 footers that divide the pens. So those ones right there that divide the pens, those are made by Marwell. We did buy those brand new with the barn. But I also got a lot of gates from the guy that sold me his sheep. So what he did, he wanted to get rid of everything in this barn. So he got rid of the feed bunks. Those are made by Stubbies. They're a prefab. I think they're called a sheep J bunk. I'll link it in the description. So I got half of those for like like half of the price of new. So I just bought all his equipment. But keep on the lookout for used stuff, because there's people, unfortunately, there's lots of people getting out of sheep farming every day. The handling system down there, you guys have seen me use that all the time. Another Marweld product. I did buy used also. I bought the guy's system that had the sheep before me as well. Since then, I have bought some new panels. I just needed to update it a bit, and it works really well with my system. So get a handling system. The barn is 252 feet long, 80 feet wide. So it is a big barn. I have automatic sidewall curtains. Automatic most days, but not when you need them to be automatic. Ooh, water. The waters are heated water bowls made by Morocco. They're very similar to a Ritchie bowl, I would say. I think at the time when I bought them, I think they were a little bit cheaper. And the place where I got a lot of my gates and everything was Brussels Agri-Service. I will link them in the description. And that's the product that they sold. I think they sell Ritchie too, but that's what we went with. Maybe because they're blue and it matched. I also got this handy dandy straw cart that gets used every single day, and I got that as well used from the guy that had the sheep before me. Shout out, Brent. He gave me a lot of the stuff, and he also gave me the idea for the barn. I honestly replicated his, and he designed his in an old turkey barn. The barn is a bright span barn. It is a fabric top, a fabric roof. And if you've seen my videos in the last month or so, you know that we had some issues with this roof. It's been up for almost 2013, so it'll be its 7th year this year. It was a fluke that it did what it did. It was very stressful, but we got it back on, and Brightspan's been really good to work with. So I do have to say that. They do have a 15-year kind of warranty on the actual fabric, like the material, but I think it's prorated, so I think every year that probably goes down a bit. We built this barn in 2013, exactly when the market crashed, and we weren't really sure we were going to be in it for very long. So we wanted a barn that if the sheep weren't in here, we could take everything out and it would just be a big storage shed. So that's why this isn't a barn. This is a Brightspan building. And that is why we went with this building. Things I want to add to this barn, I want some fans. I want some Cirque fans of some sort, whether that's the big ass fans or some like cyclone fans. I'm working on that right now, so stay tuned for that whole journey. Winter is bad when the temperature does big swings. If it stays cold, this barn is beautiful. If it stays above 3 degrees, this barn stays beautiful. But if it goes from -3 at night to +5 in the day, it's bad. It gets wet. So that part kind of sucks. We put down a lot of concrete footings here, concrete floor in the whole barn. We don't have pack underneath that bedding. We have concrete. Would a pack have been better? I just know the way I drive a skid steer or a telehandler, and I'm pretty sure I'd have that pack, like a gravel base, ruined after like one chance of clean out. So I'm happy with concrete. It's just really expensive. As for electrical, all we really had him do was wire up, eventually, we didn't do it the first year, but eventually our feeding system, and he had to wire up our ventilation stuff, which is just really the sidewall curtains. And the other thing he had to wire up was like the garage doors and the lights. And we have these fixtures. There's 14 of them in this barn, and the length is 252 feet. We did a length on each side of the pens. Really, the barn is so bright, you don't need lights on. I only have them on because I turned them on when it was kind of dark this morning. You really don't need them on. I have them on for the most part just during lambing, because I have them on from about 4 in the morning till 10 at night. That's the only time you really need them because it's bright in here. It feels like you're outside. Of course, there's all these little added expenses that we had within the first couple of years, right? We had the Bobcat, worth every penny. We had the mixer. I wouldn't trade that for anything. It's just, it helps with feed and nutrition, which is vital to sheep farming. The star of the show today. That wasn't cheap either. All these things like the overhead doors, right? All these things add up. I don't know if I have these all broke down individually, but I'd be able to give you a pretty good idea of the whole barn total. I think this is about 2 years old now, so this is a fairly new purchase, but again, a purchase that is well worth its weight in gold. And when you're dealing with a lot of multiples, prolific flock, it does come in handy. These lambing pens, they are so lightweight. They've been a godsend for me just because they're easy to put together, easy to take down. I can lift them up and over easy. I can move them down the pen easy. So this stuff is just, I can't even put a price on that stuff. I have a lot of them, but these are purchases I've made over time. I didn't get all of these at the start. I got them as my flock improved and the numbers improved. Creep panels, not a very expensive thing to buy, but you can easily manufacture this stuff on your own if you're at all handy. Our problem is we can do this stuff. Our scarcest resource is time for Mark and I. So some of the stuff we do buy, and people may agree with that or not, but that's just what we do. My lamb feeders, again, came from Brent when I bought the sheep. So again, more used stuff. So I have a good blend of stuff I got a really good price, and then other stuff that I could have got at a better price, but I bought new. Another thing I really didn't talk about much is this Ashphalt pad we put down. We put this down the year after we started feeding out of these bunks, so probably 2 years after we built this barn. And I tell you, it's a lot nicer for digging into these bags without it being gravel, just because as soon as you hit a pothole in gravel, you spill more feed, and then you bounce over the feed, and then you spill more feed. So this, believe it or not, reduces feed time. I know it seems weird, but you can get from here to the barn quicker if it's smooth. It's easy to clean, it's nice to keep everything clean, it's nicer to push snow. It's a good investment. Now this is a lot cheaper than doing concrete, so that's why we went with the Ashphalt. Well, that took me longer than I thought. Going back, 7 years to try and find old records of financials and how much we actually spent in 2013, and some of this is residual. So some of the expenses we actually did in 2014 and 2015, just things that you figure out you need because you built this. And I don't even have the old barn in this. I don't have the extra straw storage we had to build. I don't have the barn renovation for the beef cows because we had too much hay. Like, I don't have any of that ripple effect that happened after the sheep. It adds up. You don't realize it because you make like one big purchase a year. You don't really think about it until you actually put it to paper, and it's like, whoa, we spent a lot of money. So I got the breakdown. I'm going to take you through it. This barn structure, the whole thing, 252 by 80, 252 long, 80 across, for a total of 20,160 square feet, was about 308,410. So it's roughly $15.30 a square foot. Likely, if people are going to come at me like, why wouldn't you build a barn for that? I gave you my reason why we didn't build a barn. We wanted this as a structure, as just a storage structure, not necessarily a barn. The J bunks, so half the J bunks we bought new, the price for the new J bunks were $11,224, and then the rest of the J bunks were in with the other equipment that we bought used from Brent, the guy I bought my sheep from, and the total bill for that was $16,200. So that would have included all our gates, a little tiny TMR machine that we never really used, his old handling system, and just random odds and sods equipment for $16,200. The water bowls total was around $4,700, and that's for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 water bowls, and the heaters for the water bowls. Site work. So the site work costs a lot. The guys we use are really good. We've used them for years for all our projects, and it ended up being $43,500, so $43,539 and change. The Bobcat we bought, so we bought that in 2014. So we'd had the sheep already in here for probably about 5 months or so, and it was $48,000. But we did have a trade-in on a skid steer that we had before that. Plumbing we did all ourselves, so we really just bought the supplies, and that was about $1,250, $1,250 and change. The electrical was just under $21,000. The feed cart was $94.39, so just under $9,500. That asphalt we put on the pad out there, I don't know the measurements of it. I think it's 150 by, I'm not sure what it is, but it was $57,000, and that included the site work before, because we had done the site work actually twice on that. Once before we had the feed bags on it the first year, and then we had to come back and just fix it after a year of carving it up. The TMR machine and the one bin, the big bin and the small bin in the corner, ended up being about $28,000, 28 and change. I think that's all of it. So total cost, are you ready for this? I can't even believe we spent this much money. Was $500,000, $550,000 between for just this barn and the stuff that we have in it. I didn't include the automatic milk machine. We got that in 2018, I believe, and it was around, I believe it was around $6,000, so $6,500 or something like that. So yeah, $550,000 is what it costs to put this up. And the next question you're going to ask is, why? Why don't you just throw them outside? There's a lot of reasons we don't have them outside. Economically speaking, our land costs a lot of money here. We're looking at anywhere from $15,000 an acre to $25,000 an acre in some spots around us. And also to justify the expenses, the capital expenses we have on our grain side, we need to fully take advantage of every acre we possibly can for the production of row crops. So that just doesn't allow a lot of room to, for 450 sheep, I need quite a bit of land. I know, so I can grow hay and corn on a lot less land for these sheep. So that is why we, economically speaking, that's why my sheep are indoors and not outside. And some people might not agree with that, but that's the way we run this business. Will we someday put them outside? I like the idea of when crops are harvested, maybe wheat's harvested and we want to plant cover crop. That would be a really cool thing to experiment with, is putting in some temporary fencing and putting them out on the cover crop. But again, we have a lot of coyotes, so I'm just a little bit leery on doing that, but if we can find a way to do it, that would be cool. That's kind of the economics behind the barn. Are we making money is what you're gonna ask me next. I'm gonna tell you the first 5 years, we weren't. I would say that our grain side of the business really bailed me out quite a few years, but I would say over the last couple, the markets have been strong, my numbers have been better, and some of my expenses I'm getting in line, and our feed has drastically reduced our costs for buying a lot of extra feed. So yeah, we've been making, the sheep have been profitable for the last couple of years for sure, but no, we didn't see a return in the first probably 5 at least. So that's the barn, and if you guys want to see some other videos to do with business or economics of sheep farming itself, let me know, drop in the comments below, and let me just write some of this stuff down on a list. So the barn is out of the way. You know, I could talk about the price of the sheep, I could talk about the price of the feed, I can talk about that stuff and just do all these things. I think why I was so overwhelmed to do one just big giant do sheep make money kind of video is the fact there's so many aspects to it. But I think if I can take it into baby steps, it might mean more to you guys. You can pick and choose which one you can kind of relate to. And for me, it's a lot less overwhelming to come up with that content. So let me know what you guys think, no matter what. The bad things that have happened, the good things that have happened, every single day, I cannot wait to come out here and do chores and be with my sheep. So was it worth $500,000 for this kind of happiness? I don't know. I'm gonna say that I'm really lucky and I'm really blessed, and I'm able to keep my animals as healthy as possible and as happy as possible because I am both those things.